So what's all this then? Well, I'm not going to make a habit of doing experiment videos or these simulations or anything, but I just wanted to tell you about this simulation I did, and I did it basically because I'm a bit of a loser. During the last season, the 17-18 Premier League season, Stoke City were doing particularly badly. I don't know if anybody noticed, and I support Stoke, and I wanted to know what was going to happen. And it was just so painstaking watching these matches and just seeing us perform so badly. And I was thinking to myself, on paper, we've got a better team than this. We shouldn't be in this situation. So what's going wrong? What's happening? So I decided to do some simulations on Football Manager. I wanted to see where Stoke were going to finish. And other things like who the top scorer was going to be, who had the best rating, that kind of thing. So I did 100 simulations of the Premier League 17-18 season, which is really pretty fucking sad because it takes a long time to do and it's painful. But I've got some data from that, and that's what I'm going to share with you today. Disclaimer, when I did these simulations, I already had the updated database and Paul Lambert was already manager, which is a shitter because I wanted to see if Hughes could actually manage to keep the team up. But anyway, I'd already done about 20 simulations by then and I wasn't going to do it again. So before we reveal Stoke's average Premier League position in the Sim Stoke City simulation, let's have a look at some other stuff. So first off, let's look at top rated player. So who was Stoke City's top rated player in the Premier League in the 17-18 season in my simulations? Well, on average, we can see Ramadan Sobhi, which is quite surprising actually. 27% of simulations, which is, if you can do maths, 27 out of 100 simulations had him as the top player, which is not necessarily what I would expect. He didn't start that many games in real life, for a start. And secondly, he's quite a young player, and we've got better players basically. So second was Joe Allen, and that's a much more realistic thing. As a player, it was much more believable that he might be the top rated player, and he wasn't far behind Sobhi. He still had 21 out of 100 simulations had him as our top rated player. Shaqiri, Fletcher, and then Zuma as well. Oh, Kurt Zuma, I miss Kurt Zuma. Shaqiri, yes, obviously, as you might expect. Fletcher, not really, because Fletcher, maybe he used to be good, but he's a bit of a bag of shit now. Anyway, Kurt Zuma, I love him. So next I looked at who the manager was at the end of the season. So obviously Mark Hughes got sacked in the real 17-18 season and Paul Lambert took over. Now, unfortunately, I started the save, as I've just mentioned, with Paul Lambert already as the manager, which means that more often than not, and this is not a very accurate result, more often than not, Paul Lambert ended up the manager at the end of the season. 80% of times, Paul Lambert ended up the manager at the end of the season. But a couple of interesting things cropped up aside from that. So second most popular, or second, the manager that occurred the second most frequently was Gus Hiddink. 8 times out of 100, which is not that much, is it? But 8 times out of 100, Gus Hiddink became the Stoke City manager, which is interesting. Gary Monk, 4 times. And you can kind of see Gary Monk really is kind of that kind of level, I suppose. Ramon Diaz. And then 1 time, Rafa Benitez became the Stoke City manager. And, spoiler, he kept us up. So, there you go. Next most important question is, who was the top scorer for Stoke? Well, we can't answer that without first asking the question, did Saido Berahino manage to score? He's gone something like, he scored in this season in real life in the Championship, and it was something like 900 and something games without scoring. Or was it 900 and something hours? I don't remember. It doesn't matter. I don't care, and you probably don't care. But the point is, it was a very long time. Anyway, did he score? In 100 Premier League seasons, did Saido Berahino score? Yes, he did. And he scored in kind of 60-odd% of them, actually. So, 77%, sorry. Should really research that before I say it. Top scorer, surprise, surprise, Shaqiri. 44 out of 100 times, Shaqiri was our top scorer. And I think if you ran that simulation another 100 times, you'd get a very similar result, because he was basically Stoke's player during that season. Ramadan Sobhi, who we've already established was the top-rated player of the season, was the second highest scorer with 12%. Berahino, 11%. Hesse, and then, interestingly, De Jong, who we signed in more than one season. So, 6 times out of 100 seasons, De Jong was our top scorer, which means we signed him over 6 times, or at least 6 times. So in one of these 100 simulations, there was a top scorer, and he only appeared once because he only signed for us once in one of these simulations, and that was Zlatan. Zlatan Ibrahimovic signed for Stoke and scored for Stoke and was Stoke's top scorer. Just doesn't seem right, does it? Very, very unusual. Football Manager must have been on drugs for that simulation. So now the big one, the question on everybody's lips. Did Stoke stay up? Well, it's hard to answer that question, but did Stoke ever stay up? Yes, they did. Did Stoke go down? Yes, they did, because I did 100 simulations. But what was Stoke's average league position over 100 simulations? Well, it was 16.39. What does that mean? Well, that means that essentially Stoke managed to stay up. Stoke could have managed to stay up. Our lowest position was 20th, obviously, as you might expect. Our highest position was 8th, which would have been our best ever Premier League finish if that had happened. It's not factual, it doesn't mean that Stoke could have stayed up, but what this is suggesting is that on paper our team was good enough to have finished 16th, or actually that's probably, we should round that down to 16th. So there you go. Mark Hughes fucked it up, didn't he? And so did Paul Lambert. So the question is now, out of these 100 simulations, if Stoke managed to not be one of the teams on average that was getting relegated, who were the 3 teams that were getting relegated? Well, I took a little bit of data from the Premier League season as well, Premier League 17-18 season, and let's get onto that in a minute, but first let's have a little talk about who won the league the most times. Now, there's a lot of talk in Football Manager about Mourinho being overpowered. And I think I might have solved that. Because here, Man United have won 66 out of 100 simulations. They've won the league. City have only won it 16 times out of 100 simulations. Now that doesn't seem fair to me. That doesn't seem right. I don't think Man United have got a better team than City on paper, so I don't know why that might be. But we have heard this talk of Mourinho being overpowered in Football Manager, and it seems to me that this could be an explanation. This could be due to that. It could be down to that. Who knows? Arsenal won the league 12 times. Inexplicable. Chelsea won it 5, and even Tottenham managed to win it once. Premier League top scorer, no surprises there. Harry Kane, 32% of the time. Actually, I say no surprises. There is a fucking big surprise at number 2. Chris Wood. 20% of these 100 simulations ended with Chris Wood as the top Premier League scorer, above Sergio Aguero, Aubameyang, and Lukaku. And Firmino. Also, pretty ridiculous. Top-rated Premier League player, Eden Hazard, by a fucking mile. 78% of 100 simulations, Eden Hazard was the top-rated Premier League player. Harry Kane coming in at second with 7%, then Firmino, Sanchez, De Bruyne, and then Mata and Aubameyang later on. But very surprising that it was such a landslide result for Hazard, really. I say surprising, he's a good player, obviously, but you would have thought that might have been distributed a little bit more. You've got people like Kevin De Bruyne in there. Harry Kane probably should have won it a few more times as well. Very strange, very strange. So who were those teams? Who were those teams that got relegated? If Stoke didn't, who was it? Well, it was Huddersfield, it was West Brom, and it was Crystal Palace. So, what have we learned from that? I'll tell you what we've learned. 0. We've learned absolutely nothing. Because it was just a bit of fun. It was just a bit of fun that I did to give me some kind of false hope that Stoke might have been able to stay up. We didn't stay up. We went down. And in fact, we're in 20th position in the Championship at the moment, which is a total bag of shit. So, actually, fuck all of this. It's rubbish. I don't know why I did it, but I did it. Leave a like, subscribe. See you, hopefully, in the future, if I haven't put you off.